Guys, do I really need to say about this meeting which happened yesterday? Because after all, the result is zero, absolutely. Well, after all, it's the big event in the press and everywhere, which was accelerated in any imaginable platform. So many predictions, so many analytics, hidden sources and unknown informants, both from Kremlin and Washington, were predicting the outcome of the meeting. But the only outcome visible here is the pure humiliation of the United States of America, its political system, its army, and incompetent, idiot president who represents everything of that. Because how else you can call this if not the humiliation? Here you can see American soldiers wearing American uniform are putting the carpet to Russian jet with Putin inside. This is probably Secret Service agents, could be even Russians. Does this image represent Make America Great Again? Is it America Great Again? Really? You know, in my perception, American soldier was always associated with something good, you know, fighting against evil forces, fighting for freedom, democracy, but it seems like I watched too many Hollywood movies, right? Or maybe Donald Trump just reformed American army to this state. Guys, this is outstanding, really, and the fact that Russian dictator is visiting the United States of America, and this is the pure humiliation of USA, the worst case happened yesterday, because the war criminal Putin was well accepted, and we saw the contrast between Zelensky's meeting in Oval Office long time ago and yesterday's meeting with Putin. Trump really loved the guy. Just look how, oh my god, he's so ugly. Putin is ugly and Trump is so happy to meet his old friend. He was so happy that Fox News even cut the fragment of their meeting video where Donald Trump said, "Oh, finally," something like that. Usually lovers greet each other like that. Putin was asked how long he will continue to unalive civilians in Ukraine, and he was just making faces to the press like that. So he was just, "Haven't heard you, that's it." A complete clownish behavior, and he could allow it to himself. Also, Putin brought some of the materials here, papers, documents, trying probably to convince Donald Trump that Ukraine is not existing state and it should be part of Russia. And I would say that after all, Donny is fully okay with that. I will tell you why. But first, let's speak about the meeting. Initially, there was the conversation between Putin and Trump in front of the journalists. They didn't answer any sort of the questions. Especially Putin was behaving like psycho, out of touch completely, because he got used to the standard puppet Kremlin journalists. So thank you, American journalists, for asking and shouting the questions about Ukrainian civilians whom Russia unalive regularly because of the orders coming from Putin. Yeah, including Putin. There are many other Russian generals and the Russian FSB circle, which maintains the Russian war criminal regime. So whoever was shouting that directly to Putin, and it was not a single journalist, you did a very great job, thank you. At least this was uncomfortable for some time. Plus, many thanks to people who greeted the Russian convoy, especially Russian convoy and Trump's as well, with many of the Ukrainian flags. Thank you. So after that initial introduction, there was the meeting. Initially, it was planned as a one-on-one, Putin with Trump together. However, plans somehow changed, and there was the meeting 3-on-3. From American side, there was Witkoff and also Rubio. And Putin was accompanied by Ushakov and I don't remember who else, maybe Dmitriev. So the meeting lasted roughly for 3 hours, and after it, journalists were waiting for the final press conference. And I went on a stream. Yes, I have my own trash channel where I stream sometimes, and I decided to stream this event, I mean the conference itself, and I was really surprised about its outcome, because nothing interesting was said here at the stage. I wouldn't call it a conference because they didn't reply any sort of the questions, they just finished the conference very soon, or you may call it a stand-up, I would say, yeah? So Putin somehow started to speak. Usually it's not okay, usually the hosting side, so Donald Trump should speak first and then Putin. But here Putin went on the stage and started to speak on Russian. While Putin read his speech from the note, there was the history of the United States and Russia, prosperity, perspectives, And he also mentioned about Ukrainian war that original causes of this problem should be resolved. So until those goals are reached, Russia continues its military operation. That's it. Which means that 3 hours before were spent for nothing, there was no progress, absolutely zero. And Donny was looking not okay at this stage. So initially, then he met with Putin, he was smiling, but at this conference, if we may call it a conference, he was visually not okay, like really disappointed guy. But Putin was happy, he was like ruling the situation. And actually it was his goal to show that he's not isolated any longer, that he's there meeting with Donald Trump. There was the military parade, some of the B-2 bomber was flying accompanied with the fighter jets just overhead those guys. Yes, MAGA journalists say that, oh, Trump demonstrated the force. No, it was a classical military air show, which usually might happen on football or any sort of the other big events. And it was the big event for Donald Trump. That is why he received Putin as some sort of the celebrity. Is the red carpet also demonstration of the force of the United States? I don't think so. So Putin was accepted really warmly. And Trump, his speech was terrible, really. He confirmed that there was no deal reached, but the meeting itself was great and they agree on many of the points, but there are some, especially one, he says, which they cannot or couldn't agree on. And immediately it was understandable for everyone that this meeting is just for nothing. Well, just for Putin to laugh on the United States of America. So Putin spoke like 8 minutes, Trump 4 minutes, and they just took the picture there on the stage and went off. Journalists were shouting questions, but no, they just disappear. It means that the meeting completely failed. And here I'm gonna refer to the Fox News. This lady, sorry, I forgot her name. She's the journalist who was presented at this conference, and she told the story as it is right after this failed meeting. So let's listen to her.
You and me both, Brian, and everyone else in this room was also surprised. We were told that we were going to have an opportunity to put questions to both leaders after a joint press conference in the event that the meeting went well enough that they could set the stage for a second meeting. And the President Trump said if that didn't happen, he was likely to call off the joint presser and just address the media solo and then send Putin home. Neither of those things happened. And what was really stunning to me as someone who's been in a lot of these press conferences is there were a few things that were very unusual. You had Putin come out and address the press first. I mean, we are on U.S. soil here, and that left the media scrambling to get their headsets in. Usually it is the leader of the country, the host country of a summit, that speaks first and addresses the room in their language. But Putin started right off in Russian, and we all had to get our headsets on and listen to him rattle off this diatribe about the history of the U.S.-Russia relationship, making some allusions to something that we didn't get many details on, but also, without knowing the full background of it, there was something that he said that was a little bit alarming, I thought, that seems like some of the things that he has done in the past, setting up false flags and that kind of thing, saying that we hope that Ukraine doesn't do anything to sabotage the progress that we made today, knowing full well that Ukraine has agreed to a ceasefire unconditionally for the last several months, and it has been Russia that has not agreed to a ceasefire. That was President Trump's main objective today. And when we did hear from the president, he said, we didn't get there, but we think that we can. So a lot of questions remaining for the President, Trump, not just about what was discussed in that room and what might be happening now, but also how that all happened back there. It was just very unusual, atypical, and I think we're all awaiting, the readout, because the way that it felt in the room was not good.
You see, freaking Fox News, and she's good. She's good in explaining the situation. She felt it herself. Yeah, later on, other propagandists from the Fox News, they start to tell completely different story, that as well as Donald Trump himself, that it was a good meeting, 10 out of 10. Yeah, we reached the progress, but in fact, we understand that this is complete failure. Speaking about uselessness, and I filmed video like 3 days ago saying that this meeting will be useless. Guys, even I didn't expect this embarrassment and cringe to happen like that. It is the total failure. If presidents meet at this level, there should have been the agreement, or usually they meet just to sign something, you know? But here, like they discussed what happened. Nothing happened. We are at the same point as we were 2 days ago. No change, absolutely.
It did not seem like things went well, and it seemed like Putin came in and steamrolled, got right into what he wanted to say, and got his photo next to the president, and then
And the White House continued to post those pictures telling how mighty Donald Trump really is. Donald Trump just likes dictators because he wants to be dictator himself in the United States of America, but luckily the democratic institutions, they are too strong and not allowing this guy to rule with 100% power as in Russia. But he still admires those dictators. The interesting thing actually happened after this so-called press conference. So according to the program, there should have been the bigger meeting 5-on-5, including the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, Financial Minister Sulana from the Russian side, and Besant from American. But just after the conference, everything was cancelled. Plus, the common dinner was cancelled as well, and in a record time, Putin went back to his Illusion 96 and flown to Russia. And Donny flown back to Washington, D.C., so the trip to the meeting took way more time than the meeting itself. Or you may call it summit, it's better to say useless summit, yeah? What is also shameful that there were American airplanes convoying the Russian jet with Putin. Well, in a perfect world of the American Hollywood justice, those fighter jets should have hit the airplane with something. But it didn't happen. The real life is different from Hollywood. On my yesterday's stream, I was monitoring the Flight Radar 24, showing the Russian airplanes in Alaska airspace. And you know, guys, next time for Putin's visit, I think I'll have the idea of how to greet Putin. You see this small piston engine airplane here, probably it's Cessna. It is flying very close to the Russian jet. So unfortunately, I came out with this thought kind of late already after the meeting happened. But I think I could pay, or maybe with a fundraise, we could pay all together for pilots to draw something like Putin Huilo in the airspace, something like this. It's kind of the complicated, or maybe some other stuff, because the track of the airplane stays, so it draws the line. But if you fly airplane in different direction, you may actually draw something. Yeah, sadly, this idea came to me kind of late, and for sure there would be some of the pilots in Alaska who would fly their airplanes somewhere in this airspace, the low altitude, uncontrolled airspace, just to draw something. But you know what? Before his flight back, Putin found the time to put the flowers at the graveyard where Russian pilots are buried, and this is at the territory of the local Orthodox Church. He also spoke with a local priest. And that is how Russia provides its influence abroad. So here Putin gave some of the presents, he tries to show to MAGA community that he's the real Christian, you see. I'm the guy, not Trump, you know. Trump is involved in Epstein scandal. I'm your guy. And this Orthodox priest says that he goes to Russia every year and he feels at home there. He goes not alone, but also with guys from his church. So you understand, yeah, why Putin went there. He went for the actual meeting and also to mark the territory with flowers, with pointing the attention that there were some of the Russian pilots who lost their lives during the Second World War, and Putin remembers about it. So Alaska is like washed with the Russian blood. So it's almost like the Russian state, yeah? Plus we have our religion there, you see. Alaska is Russian, yeah. And again, it humiliates the United States of America. Maybe Trump is sadomaso or something like that. He likes to be submissive, being humiliated. I don't see the other explanation here, but the bad thing that he humiliates not just himself, but the entire country. And you see, Russian propaganda already found out the roots of Donald Trump. He originates from the Russian monarchy, Rurikevich. Yeah, long story. So there was the press conference of Donald Trump recorded, and he says that Russia is superpower and Ukraine has to make the deal. Like, He still sees Russia as the great superpower and Ukraine is just like, okay, it's just a small state, brave warriors, we gave them good weaponry and they fight, but you know, after all, you have to make the deal with mighty Russia. And guys, as I told you many times before, with this buffoon in charge of the United States, we shouldn't expect anything good, not just for Ukraine, but for entire democracy in this world. And he's very harmful for United States, you know, with all of his policies. He's dumb. Okay, he's incompetent, let's say. And Putin used the Trump's words for Trump's favor, like, for example, elections were rigged, yeah, elections were rigged, or, for example, if I was a president, Russia wouldn't attack Ukraine. Putin confirmed that, which is actually hilarious because the previous White House administration, Biden's one, gave Ukraine the most of the weaponry to resist against the Russian attack. Yeah, later on, after the full-scale attack happened, Ukraine received the most weapons, but still, it was the real help. This administration, it just tells Ukraine to surrender. For Donald Trump, it doesn't matter if Russia occupies entire Ukraine. He just wants to finish this war and to get his Nobel Prize because Obama has it. Also, he wants to make the deal with Russia. Also, some experts say that he wants Russia to be United States ally, not the China one, but no, it will not happen like that. And after all, China sees how incompetent Donald Trump really is, how weak and taco he behaves. And Putin might do everything with Donetsk, so it encourages China to attack Taiwan in some perspective. It also encourages Putin to attack Ukraine even more, and now I have just received information. Zelensky published it on his Twitter that Russia is preparing one more big assault in Donbass, Donetsk region. They're preparing their forces, accumulating them for the major strike, which might happen in the coming days or weeks. Also, Donny invited Zelensky today to visit Washington. Zelensky said, okay, I will go on Monday and there's gonna be Oval Office meeting 2.0 and I wonder how it might go. Will it be the same as the last time with this big scandal? No one knows for sure, but I think Donald Trump will push Zelensky to agree on Russian demands. That's it. Because Trump, again, he simply doesn't care about Ukraine or about democracy in general. What can you say about the guy who wants to make Canada the 51st state or annex Greenland? Trump thinks exactly as Putin. He just doesn't have that much power. So to conclude, in general, it is understandable that Putin wants to continue the war in Ukraine. Because of this war, he is well recognized, received, and so on. He's encouraged actually to do what he does in Ukraine. So he will continue, could be for years, not 4 years, but for years and years and years. Well, at least with Russian dictator, it's the only visible possible scenario which I see. Yeah, there could be some of the fluctuations with activity on the front lines, like intense fights, lowering down, maybe even temporary ceasefires, as we witnessed on 9th of May, maybe prolonged, like 1 month, 2 months, doesn't matter, but war will continue. And according to Bloomberg, then Donald Trump called Zelensky yesterday. He said that Putin wants Ukraine to capitulate, basically, from Donetsk region and other regions of Ukraine to announce the ceasefire. But Zelensky already said that Ukraine will never ever do it. My Patreon supporters, thank you so much for maintaining my motivation. It is only possible with your kind support. By the way, the link for my Patreon is in the video description just below, so you may support me as well, my friends. And now I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.